This is 3 Shots In.
All right, so the topic, it was horoscope. You and I decided to just target the zodiac. Astrology.
No, the only thing we said to not focus on was the Zodiac Killer, right? That's been done. Everyone knows all about him. Who cares?
They found out who he was.
Yeah, no one cares anymore. So yeah, what'd you get though?
So I decided to really think about that and think about what fascinates me the most about it. And what fascinates me the most about it is that people take it so seriously. Mm-hmm. I was super into it when I was like 12. Then I became older and was much less into it.
Right.
So now I think it's really, just personally, I think it's really hokey, and I think it's hilarious and very fascinating that people will base super important decisions in their lives on astrology, the study of the stars and their zodiac sign and like all that stuff. You know?
Are you kidding me? He's a Leo.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, like dating sites where people will put in their profile, if you're a Pisces, swipe, because I'm not interested in dating you.
Yeah.
Swipe left, you know.
I don't want no Virgo.
Exactly.
In my DMs.
Exactly. Scorpio, fuck no, yo.
That was weak at best.
I knew you'd hate it, so I just kind of went for it. But yeah, you know, people really do that. And so I decided to look up ways that people have taken it incredibly seriously to the point of it being like crazy.
Okay.
Talking about people actually writing it into their dating profiles is a nice segue into people choosing not to hire you based off of your zodiac sign.
Fuck.
So there's been people who wouldn't hire someone based off of their sign. In fact, saying that these certain signs have a tendency to be feisty and critical, and that's why he didn't want to hire them. They were Scorpios, by the way. He didn't want to hire those.
No one likes a Scorpio.
No. Now this ended up being a hoax, but USA Today apparently did talk about the FBI naming certain signs that were most likely to be dangerous.
Okay.
Turned out not to be true. It ended up being an article they wrote out of desperation based off of something someone said on Facebook. So
Jesus Christ. They needed some funding.
I guess so. But I mean, in case you were curious, whoever it was who posted it on Facebook said that the most dangerous signs ranked by the FBI.
Okay.
They also said there was like medical information behind it. They didn't actually say what it was, but they did say it was there. And that was the most dangerous is Cancer.
That's number 1?
Number 1, which is grandma, by the way.
Grandma, fucking Cancer.
Very dangerous. Sagittarius, which is dad. Yeah. Scorpio.
Oh my God.
And Aries, Terry.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear our signs.
Exactly. Although I am Scorpio rising. So yeah, you know, just people taking this really, really, really seriously. I just don't get it. I did find, we'll talk about it during the break, actually. It's an interesting fact that I wanted to tell you about, which was...
Can I get a little note to write down?
Sure. So it was one case where someone made a prediction based off of like astrology and the position of the stars, a future prediction, and it ended up coming true.
Huh. Prediction on stars.
Pretty funny.
True. That is funny.
And we'll talk about it. Anyway, so on the topic of people taking astrology weirdly seriously.
Right.
I found a murder mystery.
Oh, that's what I was looking for. Damn.
I hit the fucking jackpot, man. This one's
Apparently.
fun. So this story, it brings us to Bandon, Oregon in the 1920s.
Okay.
And this story begins with a family. There is a chiropractor, the man of the house. His name is Fred Coville. He's had 4 wives at this point. 2 of them have died. 1 ran out on him because they had 2 mentally handicapped children. And his 4th wife, his current wife, her name is Ebba. Now, when this story begins, his 2 mentally handicapped children, 16-year-old Alton and 14-year-old Lucille.
Okay.
This wasn't exactly a happy family. Ebba, she did connect well with his 2 children. They were mentally handicapped, so they were living in the house basically permanently. She didn't care for that. She thought that was a financial burden. She wasn't very understanding. Then there was the matter of Fred's younger brother, Arthur. Arthur, so he was in an auto accident and was left paralyzed from the waist down. Couldn't really care for himself, and Fred offered his home to him. And Ebba had a big problem with this. She hated it.
Right.
In December 1920 was when Arthur's accident had happened. And when he moved in with his brother Fred, he barely ever left his room. But what he did begin for himself, a horoscope, you might say.
Ah.
It was very popular in Europe at the time.
Okay. He was jumping on the trend before it was
Right.
big. Good for him.
So while he was bedridden, he had taught himself astrology and the art of making horoscopes. He used this to build a business off of.
Sure.
He didn't put them in the paper, but he did mail them to people who asked for them. So it was kind of a subscription-based thing.
He's so ahead of the game.
Right?
Jesus.
Yeah. And he would also tell people's fortunes, by the way. If they paid
Okay.
a little extra, I'm sure.
Sure.
So September 3rd, 1923. This is only 3 years after Arthur's accident. So it's the middle of the day, and Arthur uses the phone at his bedside to call his brother Fred. And he tells him, quote, "You better get home fast. The brats," meaning Fred's mentally handicapped children,
Okay.
tell me there's something wrong with Ebba. This ended up being an understatement, because when Fred got home, he found that Ebba was dead.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Ebba's dead in the bed.
Okay.
He asked his son Alton to explain what happened. Alton apparently replied, quote, "I don't know. I found her lying on the floor in the hall by the telephone when I came in from the barn." So Fred went to his brother's room. He let him know, hey, Ebba has died. And Arthur seemed completely unsurprised. In fact, he's quoted saying, "She's dead, ain't she, Fred? The kids wouldn't tell me, but the stars did." They always tell. Jupiter and Mars are adverse to the sun and Venus. That's a juxtaposition Ebba couldn't take. I don't fucking get it, but he did say that.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird as fuck.
Super creepy. So Fred calls the police. They arrive, and they come to a far more earthly conclusion as to what had happened to her. It's noted that Ebba's face was kind of burned. It didn't look like with fire. It looked like chemical burns. There was a lot of redness around her mouth and her nose and stuff. And they were a little concerned that there was a bruise on her forehead and that Fred kind of rushed the process to get her buried quickly.
Okay.
That's a bad sign.
Very.
It's also a bad sign that when they asked anybody in the house and no one was really saying anything.
What do the stars say?
One detail Arthur allowed to slip was that when he first called Fred's office, he was told by his office that his brother wasn't there.
Oh.
So obviously, they suspected him.
Right.
They attempted questioning Fred even further. He had nothing more to give. He came across as defeated. Alton and Lucille, also uncommunicative. They had nothing to say. But Arthur seemed to be getting some amusement from this whole process. That seemed very strange. He was a strange person, by the way. So they thought it was odd that he almost seemed to be like inwardly laughing whenever they came around to ask him questions. And all he could say was that the stars were what did her in. That's all he could say. There was nothing she could have done. Now, they did an autopsy on Ebba. Her neck had been dislocated.
Oh.
It seemed as though someone had broken it.
Right.
But it wasn't enough to actually be the cause of death. There were bruises around her neck, but no evidence of strangulation. It was just really, really odd. And there were the chemical burns on her face too, which were just kind of added to the mystery. It was also the 1920s, so there wasn't really a way to chemically test for this kind of stuff.
Right.
It was a lot of guesswork. Anyway, before they could get this autopsy done, Fred had signed that her death was of natural causes. But after the autopsy, the mortician who had studied her body had signed that it was definitely not natural. Fred's looking very bad right now.
Yeah.
And so he was arrested.
Right.
So they issue a warrant charging Fred for the murder of his wife. He and Arthur are both brought into jail.
He and Arthur.
And Arthur, yes.
Okay.
Arthur's a smart guy, so just for the sake of making sure all their bases were covered, they brought the two of them into jail and they sent Lucille and Alton apparently to a farm. I don't really know
Jesus.
what else that means. I think it was just to take them somewhere that wasn't a jail cell, but it was a place where people could watch them all day to make sure they weren't doing anything.
Okay.
Because this was officially a homicide investigation, they were able to access, a more in-depth autopsy.
Okay.
And so this autopsy revealed that for sure, the chemical burns were a result of ammonia.
Okay.
Someone had soaked a cloth in ammonia and held it over her nose and face, kind of like, I don't know, what's that thing?
Chloroform?
Chloroform, yeah, kind of like that. Someone had done that, and that's what had burned her face.
You ever have ammonia on your hands like that?
I don't think I have.
It's
Pure.
like bleach.
Weird.
Like at first you're like, wow, why do people complain about this? But then, you lose all your fingertips. Mm-hmm. You have no more fingerprints anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So they search the home and they do find the evidence they were expecting, but also no.
Okay.
Because they didn't find it where they were expecting or about who they were expecting.
I'm not following, so please continue.
The evidence they found was in Arthur's bedroom.
It was Arthur. He wasn't even handicapped?
They found he is actually handicapped,
Okay.
yes. That's still true. Cannot move his legs. In Arthur's bedroom, they happened to find kind of like a journal, and inside they found some notes of his. But all of it was written in code.
How did they know?
Apparently, it was like some really lame like cereal box code because they deciphered it really quickly.
So he wasn't no Zodiac.
Right. So he wasn't as subtle as all of that. They were able to decipher it very quickly, and they were stunned reading the entries. The first entry they read, or at least one of them, quote, "The moon in the house of trine Uranus ought to get $5,000 from Corson." Corson was the name of a wealthy local citizen. Another one referred to plans to have the family of a rich dairyman named E.J. Pressey die in a house fire.
The fuck?
Quote, "He will die in a house fire, but not before you take the doors and windows out of it to be used in my new house." As it turned out, Arthur was running an assassination business.
Jesus Christ.
Right?
No way.
Yes!
What the fuck?
I know!
That's what his horoscope subscriptions
His subscriptions
were nothing but
just,
hits?
It was star code for like, I'll kill this rich fucking dude in your family so that you get money and so do I.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, your story got so much better. Assassinations.
Assassination business! Isn't that insane?
That's fucking cool.
However, it turned out that all of this really was based off of astrology. He 100% based every one of these murders on the stars, when it happened and how.
Jesus.
There was a merchant named Ira S. Sidwell. This is in a separate entry. Quote, "Will fall down the stairs at the store. Will have his will and other papers in his pocket." He was also forging people's wills.
Oh, shit.
So on every single page, he'd recorded exactly how people would be assassinated, to a total of 27 people.
Oh, shit.
The richest people in his town.
I didn't see assassination coming in the horoscopes episode.
So they continued searching his bedroom. They find a stack of fraudulent wills. And near the end of the journal they had originally found, a small note that said, "Will Al do his part?"
Who is Al?
Perhaps it's Alton, the mentally handicapped son.
He's the assassin? No.
So, investigators confront Arthur. They tell him everything they know and that they suspect him. Apparently, he was very proud of his work, and he said to them, "You found it, eh? Thought you'd want to know about it. Stars said you would."
Jesus Christ.
I know, he's fucking crazy.
It's like a fucking Batman villain, dude.
I know. So, when they asked him, they were like, "What the fuck does this mean? You're plotting assassinations of people." And he said, "All I did was wish for them to die. Is there something illegal about wishing?" And apparently the cops were like, "Fuck."
Fuck, there is not.
They're like, "God damn it." So anyway, they go back to Alton. Questioned him about the book. And immediately he fell onto his knees and began to cry. He said, "I did it for Uncle Arthur. He made me and Lucille do anything he wanted. Bad things always seemed right when he talked to us." So he provided a written statement, Alton, and it said, quote, "Uncle Arthur told me to buy a 10-cent bottle of ammonia. Then he told me we'd have to kill Ebba because she learned something and she was going to tell Fred. It was something that would make us all rich and she would spoil his plans. So, she was standing by the telephone when I came in. I put the cloth on her face and held her arms with my left arm around her. It took a long time. I don't know how long. I called Lucille, and we got Ebba up on her bed. Lucille threw the bottle down the gully because my uncle told her to. He told us what to say to Dad and to the police, so we did. He said he would have a lot more work for me. Kidnapping, setting fires, pushing people down the stairs. All exciting."
Jesus Christ.
Right?
This is Batman.
I know!
Oh my God.
Lucille, when questioned, confirmed every single detail. She and Alton were apparently in awe of their uncle. They really thought he was some kind of like otherworldly actual wizard who just knew things magically. Arthur was informed that his niece and nephew had ratted on him, and he totally just caved. It was kind of like at the end of Scooby-Doo when they take the mask off the villain.
Yeah.
He literally said, "The brats are telling the truth," scornfully. He said,
I would have gotten away with it too.
I'd have been a master of this county after Alton had killed a few good-for-nothings around here if I'd obeyed the stars.
Oh my God, I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those men and kids.
Yes. All that to say, at the end, he said the only reason it didn't work was because he had mistimed her death. If he had scheduled it just 14 minutes before, then he would have gotten away with it.
Why?
No fucking clue. Apparently the stars told him.
Dude, I mean, homie got away with, 27 murders before that one?
No. None of those had taken place yet. He had been planning them all.
Oh, okay.
Arthur Coville. His murder trial began November 5th, 1924. His lawyers really tried, but then again, he had already confessed, and so had Alton and Lucille. Lucille ended up not tried at all. She was their star witness. She gave up the most information. She calmly explained in great detail how her uncle had chosen Alton to be his hitman. She giggled throughout her entire testimony as though it was all just a great joke. So by the end of it, the jury needed like almost no time to decide on a verdict of guilty.
Just immediately.
He was brought to the noose in his wheelchair.
Oh, no.
And he was hung because he was so skinny and light.
He slipped right out.
His strangulation took 26 minutes.
Ooh.
Until eventually he died. Now, the jury, they also tried Alton for being an actual hitman and not just someone who knew about it and was hiding things like Lucille.
Yeah.
They took pity on Alton. They did not choose a death sentence. They decided that because he was so easily swayed to commit murders and seemed to have no problem with it, that he should be imprisoned for life. And he didn't die until 2002.
Jesus Christ.
Right?
Well, 100 plus years old?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. He died in 2002.
Nuts.
Arthur was cremated, and no one claimed his ashes, so those are still in an Oregon State hospital, according to this article.
Oh, because Fred didn't want anything to do with those ashes.
Apparently not. Apparently Fred really didn't know about any of this going on. He thought his wife was being a bitch about his, disabled brother and his handicapped kids, and it turned out she was right the whole time.
Damn.
As soon as his back was turned, they were plotting to murder her.
They always tell you, don't trust a hoe. Never trust a hoe.
They say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But sometimes the hoe don't trust me being Arthur. And sometimes she's correct, the hoe.
That was
that was a song. I don't even know what that song is. I just hear it in my head. No idea. We'll look it up during the break.